Hi guys, my name is Harry Lee, real estate business owner and master auctioneer. Today I'll be sharing with you what it takes to win the Australasian Auctioneering Championships. I'll be sharing 5 main tips which I really believe can be exchangeable and transferable to whatever field or endeavour you're in. By doing so, I'll be explaining my journey and how I started from ground zero all the way to achieving the highest accolade that Australasian auctioneering has to offer. So tip number 1, guys, is to go search and witness the benchmark. They say to win the Australasian auctioneering competition, you have to go watch one first. It was back in 2010 when I was a young budding auctioneer with only the ambition of growing my auctioneering skill set. I was doing 2 to 3 auctions at a time, or per weekend I should say, with very limited training as a base point. What I wanted to do was to explore, to see what else was out there, how I could grow as an auctioneer, thus helping my clients be able to get a better result when it came to auction day. What I decided to do was to not go watch my competitors, nor go in surrounding areas to see who else is out there. I searched for the best. So in 2010, I traveled all the way to New Zealand to go watch the Australasian Auctioneering Championships that were held that year. And when I went there, folks, I totally opened my eyes as to what auctioneering really involves. The technical skills, competing under the pressure, to be able to deliver what they delivered, folks, it was absolutely amazing. Watching Jason Andrew, Damien Cooley, Robert Tulp and the likes, folks, it changed my view and my world of auctioneering. It was also at that point in time when previously I had no ambitions to actually become the Australasian Auctioneer of the Year. To me, it was about, if I wanted to be the best, if I wanted to maintain a high quality of auctioneering for my clients, I need to make sure I reach the same level as these guys. So I set that as my goal. I knew and I witnessed what type of things were involved when it came to competitions, and I used that as a base point for me to work from. The second tip that I'll be providing you is to have commitment and focus. I know that this does sound simple, and certainly everyone does go about saying this, but I really do believe it has to be done in order for you to reach your goal. A demonstration of that is this photo that I took of myself. At that time in 2010, this image was taken of me standing next to the trophy but not holding the trophy. At that point in time, because my ambition was to win the competition, I promised myself and others around me that I would not be witnessed taking a photo with this trophy in my hand until I actually won the competition. Now, we all know that we are very busy with our daily lives, whether you're in real estate, of course, doing your daily transactions, dealing with clients, etc., or whatever endeavor or field that you may be in. You may have other distractions and so forth that could take your focus away from the goal. What I did was I used this image as my screensaver and background on my mobile phone. I made sure that I saw this image hundreds of times a day to make sure that I stay committed to my own promise, to my goal, and I do not waver from it. What a lot of people did not understand and did not realize at the time, in January 2011, was when I took over the real estate business that I was working in. Now, we all know that when it comes to business ownership, that first 5 years is integral, that it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. And certainly I did put that effort in at least 10 hours a day for 6 days a week minimum. But when it came to the auctioneering side, it needed to be done. So all the work that I'll be talking about later onwards was added on top of my normal activities. Folks, I was committed to the cause. I was focused on achieving the goal. I wanted to make sure nothing was going to get in the way of me getting the prize. The third tip that I'll be providing you, folks, is training and frequency. Now, on that same trip back in 2010, I actually found out that all the top auctioneers in New Zealand, New South Wales, Queensland, they were doing 20 plus auctions a week. Now, I guess as an auctioneer doing only 2 to 3 auctions per week, they were doing almost 10 times as much per week. How could they not just be naturally better? Just by pure experience, and of course by going through different scenarios and going through that and training through those type of numbers. For me, I had to make up ground somehow. For me, I had to find out a way where I can develop my skill set, not only to match them, but hopefully surpass them as well. And the only way that I could do that was to practice at an intensity and frequency that others could not match. So my friend and I at the time, we set up a routine, a schedule where 4 to 5 days a week where we'll spend 1 hour training sessions conducting auctions. Our focus at that time was doing bidding sequences. So within that 1 hour time frame, we'll be doing 4 bidding sequences each. So over the course of the week, we're able to call 16 to 20 bidding sequences on top of course the usual auctions we'll do for clients. And then certainly we'll be able to make up those numbers others were doing. In doing so, we're doing and focusing on the competition environment. So we thought we had the edge in that regard. So our practice and frequency certainly got us to be able to catch up to them at a faster rate. Now for us, we were aiming to be the best. We weren't aiming just to be, I guess, the champion of Victoria. We want to be the champions of Australasia. And that's the type of focus that you need, folks. That's the type of commitment, as I mentioned earlier. And when it comes to training and its frequency, you need to make sure you dedicate those times. There's going to be times that maybe in the mornings you do not want to wake up and do it. Much like when it comes to gym and training sessions, you don't feel up to it. But the winners are those that are actually doing it no matter what. They dedicate themselves, they make sure they get it done because every little bit counts. Now, tip number 4, guys, is to train and get the best training advice. Now, you can be practicing 20 times a week, 30 times a week, but if you are not learning the right things, you are training and practicing the wrong things for the competition. So make sure that you are seeking people that not only just won the competition before, but they've got the tactical nous and the strategy and the experiences to be able to help and guide you to win this competition. Now, just to show you and to explain what I did, every single year I sought someone different. I made sure that I got advice from past champions every single year without fail. So the first person that I did get training from was Mark Summich. At that time, he was a 2-time former champion, nowadays a 3-time champion of the Australasian auctioneering competition. I consider him to be the master when it comes to technical skills of competition calls here in auctions. So for me, getting training from him was a no-brainer. People that, of course, at that level, they're always willing to share. They're always willing to share their ideas, give up their time because they want to see other people with the same drive, of course, do better. The second trainer that I saw after a year of competitions was Phil McGoldrick, Hall of Fame auctioneer, certainly indeed, but also too an absolute legendary wordsmith. One of the weaknesses that I found out with my call was the actual linguistic aspect of it. When it comes to the vocabulary, describing things, grammar, and so forth, I sought the help of Phil McGoldrick. He assisted me with this, amongst of course other aspects of the auction calls as well. But I sought his advice, and he enhanced my call just that little bit as well. The third trainer that I sought in my third year was Peter Bertrini. Once again, a Hall of Fame auctioneer, former Australasian auctioneer of the year. Now, what he taught me was something that no one ever actually taught me before, and that was to go seek a voice coach and performance coach. Now, when it comes to auctioneering, most of us, we go look at and we seek training from other auctioneers, and there is nothing wrong with that because they teach you the great technical aspects. But one thing that is missing when it comes to a lot of competition calls is to be able to deliver it in the right way. And that is where a voice coach and a performance coach can really assist you. Through 8 weeks of training through a voice coach, I was able to learn breathing techniques, momentum when it comes to auctions, having the ability to be able to slow down an auction, to quicken up if need be, talk softer, talk louder, everything when it comes to performing to make sure that your performance is complete. So many things we don't actually notice, and when we see and when we criticize and we critique our own auctions, some of the things we look past, but people of other professions can actually see. A special mention, of course, to Peter Walker as well. He's always assisted me year in, year out when it comes to my auction calls. He's always guided me. He's a guy of great wisdom and great knowledge. And whenever I got a property, just a random property, he would always share with me his ideas of the property itself, how the angles that he will look at it. Certainly his knowledge of history, quotes, sayings, and so forth, he would guide me as well. Peter Hawkins, I went to go visit 1 year before one of the Australasian competitions that I competed in. Now, he basically told told me, do not follow the trend. Be out of the box if you like. Now, when he won the Australasian auctioneering competition 20 plus years ago, he actually did the description first, then did his intro and legals and went straight into the bidding sequence. That's very rarely seen these days, but that call was the winning call that year. He said, be different, but also be you. Now, the fifth and final tip that I'll be providing you today, guys, is that to use failure as a learning curve and or as extra fire and drive to make you do better. You see, today when everyone talks to me or when everyone communicates with me or sees me, they look at me as a winner of the Australasian Auctioneering Championships. And yes, I did win it in 2015. But what I want to explain is this, that my first competition call was back in 2011. I competed at the Real Estate Institute of Victoria, the state competition. I finished in the top 5, but did not qualify for the Australasian auctioneering competition. In 2012, I finished in top 5. I came runner-up and entered the Australasian auctioneering competition, which I bombed out in the first round. So that's 3 competition calls. My 4th call was at the REIV state competition again. I was runner-up again without taking the chocolates. I went to Perth and competed there, which was the Australasian level, and I finished in the final 5, but also did not win. Now, that's 5 competitions that I entered in, folks, that with no success, you could say. Most people will look at runner-up positions as a pretty fine, I guess you could say, accolade itself, finishes 2nd in a state. But one thing that I was taught, but also one thing that I grew up with, was a winning mentality. The saying goes is that when you finish 2nd, you are actually first loser. That's the mentality that you need to have to make sure that you push on, to drive on, to aim for the top prize. So folks, that's what I went through before I won any competitions. It wasn't until 2014 where I was going for the RRV state competition where I had my breakthrough. I won that for the very first time, once again, my 4th go at it. A lot of times I see people when it comes to competing in these competitions that they'll go in there once or twice and give up after that, saying that it's not for them. They find it difficult. It's not real life auctions. They'll make some sort of excuse. When I finished runner-up all those years, folks, when I didn't win, I always thought, look, is it because I'm Asian? Is it because I'm young? It just does not matter what. You need to be at a level so good that they cannot give you the win. That's the type of mentality. You need to be so far ahead of the pack. You need to stand out so much that they cannot give you the trophy and the championship. Now, folks, I'm going to tell you this. How I used fire to help me win the 2015 championship in Australasia, which was held in Melbourne at that point in time, was this. In 2015 at the RIV state competition, just remember, I won the year before. I actually finished runner-up. I watched the videos over and over again, of course, not straight after the competition, but in years going since. I'm bitter about it. I thought I won, but due credit to Tom Roberts, certainly he was excellent on the day. He won fair and square, even though I thought I should have won. I used that as extra motivation for me that year to go to the Australasians and compete at the highest level. I knew I had the capabilities. I knew I was going to win. Look, call it fate or not, Tom finished first, I finished second. But that year in the heats, in terms of the barrier draw, Tom was drawn barrier 1, which means he was first to compete in the heats. I was drawn barrier 2. And I just knew that this was my absolute time to shine. I used my loss, my runner-up, as a form of fire, a form of drive for me to absolutely smash a home run, to smash the auction call, and of course get myself into the final and to make sure I have a winning opportunity. I did do that, of course. I used that as an extra motivation to go for the cause. Not that I really needed it, but certainly it gave me that 1% edge. I went into the final, and ultimately, folks, after my third go at Australasian level, after my fourth go, I should say, I ended up winning the title in 2015. You know, those are the 5 tips, folks. When it comes down to it, if you look at, there's nothing special. It's about doing things daily. It's about doing things consistently. But you got to make sure that you seek the right advice, seek the right training. You got to have focus. You got to be committed, not just, of course, to the cause, but to yourself. And you got to remember this, that the time that you give up is the time that you lose. Never give up. Keep on pursuing it. Make sure you got your eyes on the prize, and I know that you will succeed. If you like the content that I've shared here today, folks, please subscribe to the channel, like my Facebook and my social pages, and I certainly look forward to sharing more content with you soon.